What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning back into the channel. Travis with Homebuilt 86. Obviously, I am bringing you along as I work on building a terrarium for a new family member. We got a Crested Gecko, and this tank that I'm reworking is basically the way that this Exoterra tank came. The substrate was what it came with, the fake plants inside. The kids recently had really been interested and excited to look at getting a reptile. That's something that I had grown up with, so I was familiar with it, and it kind of reinvigorated my enjoyment in it as well. And my daughter and I got to doing some research after I had, not long after I'd gotten the tank, and I wanted to do a bioactive enclosure. So we took out everything that it came with, and I started working on making it a bioactive enclosure. This is a new cork background, so it's a real cork background that I bought through Pangea. I'm going to include links down below for all of the materials that I'm using to Amazon. So if you just want to put everything in your cart through Amazon, I'm going to include a link, and you can just go down if you're interested in any of these items. The tank that I'm working on is a 12 by 12 by 18. So here I'm basically just going to put some silicone on the back of it, put a small shim underneath the back of it so it stays up all the way, and I'm going to install it. I wanted to, it may not be necessary to put silicone on the back of it, but it didn't stay very well, so I wanted it to stay where we were putting it at and not be falling, things like that. So I basically get the background placed. My daughter and I had started to work on a larger tank, and she decided she wanted to do a same size tank as myself, so we're actually working on two tanks at the moment. So that's where this substrate, I believe these are the Zoom Ed clay balls for the base layer of the substrate. And then I'm just going to put a small piece of filter fabric on it for drainage and to keep the dirt out of the substrate. Everything that I used was, as far as the substrate, I believe was all Zoom Ed. The sphagnum moss, the sheet moss, the reptile soil, and then I also mixed in some of the coconut fiber. And I believe the reptile soil has the charcoal in it. So we got the base layer of the substrate down, got the filter fabric in. Here I already had all of those items mixed together in one because we had started previously on a tank for her, and she kind of backed out on deciding to do a larger enclosure and wanted to go with the 12 by 12 by 18. So here I'm going to set out most of the items that I got through Pangea. New light, a hood that fits the 12 by 12. Let's see, I got new food, some of the Pangea food, their feeder base. That was some springtails that I picked up locally from a pet store, as well as the cork bark. And here I'm just going to kind of play with the design, see what I like. The plants that I ordered, it was a plant kit that came through Josh's Frogs, and they do sell on Amazon as well. So again, I'm going to try to get all of these things linked in the description below. Like I said, my kids and I, especially my oldest daughter, we've just really had a blast learning about these new ways that people are taking care of reptiles. I've had a blast kind of getting back into it in the enjoyment of the enclosures. When I was a kid, enclosures were nothing like this. You basically got the information from whoever the guy was at the pet store. You didn't have the internet. I mean, there may have been some information out there on this type of stuff, but I don't know of anyone that was doing living enclosures at the time. So again, these plants, I got a kit. My daughter and I kind of split them up. She picked the plants she liked. I used the rest. I also bought a small couple of succulents from Home Depot and wanted to put in there just to kind of break it up a little bit. So I'm trying to kind of keep everything wet as I'm installing it, and just to get a good saturation on that base layer. I actually had green anoles while I was growing up, and they were a little more difficult to take care of. I did some research. The crested geckos are a fantastic gecko to start with. Um, Here she's getting ready to add in the springtails. But as far as I can tell, all of the New Caledonian lizards are great. Um, Here is the grow light that I bought because the crested geckos don't require really much of any UV source. So that is Pangea's grow light. And again, I'm repeating, but all these things I'll have listed. And here's pretty much what I came up with. I had quite a bit of extra materials, but we also have her tank that we're setting up as well. But I was really happy with the way it turned out. Night and day difference from the fake items that were in the Exoterra tank before. So the feeder that the food and the Pangea kit came with had this dual cup feeder. My gecko's a very small juvenile. I really don't need 2 cups, and so that we each had a cup base in our tanks, I decided to split it. So I ended up taking a Dremel and cut it, and then just kind of cleaned up the edges, and it worked out great. We just put the suction cups on each piece, and that gave, like I said, each of us a feeding base. We haven't bought her lizard yet, but we're looking at getting her a gargoyle gecko, which has basically all of the same care options that the crested gecko does. And here I'm introducing our new friend. We decided to name the lizard Arlo. Really good mannered. It's night and day difference from the lizards that I had growing up. They're very interactive, very handleable, great with kids, and I mean, other than really little kids, you may have to watch out for the lizard because it could get squished. So doing the bioactive enclosure, the place that I got my springtails from did not have any isopods in stock. This is something that's important if you're going to be doing a bioactive enclosure. You're going to want springtails in the soil as well as some isopods, so I decided to find my own. While we were hunting for isopods, my mom had turned over this rock and said, well, there's a neat spider, and come to find out, we actually located a black widow. I looked at her, I said, Mom, that's not a normal spider, that's a black widow. The one that you are seeing is the smaller of the two. I'm assuming it's the male, and I'm going to coax out the female right now. She was pretty quick, ran off the rock pretty fast, but I was able to get her onto a stick and get a picture of her. Very neat spider. I put her back and let her go back under a rock. And here my littlest is going to help me put the isopods that we gathered into the tank. So we appreciate you hanging out with us on today's video. As always, we appreciate your support. We look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care and have a good day.